Good morning to anyone who can hear me. Excuse me. Got that little bit of a morning coffee throat. I'm not drinking more coffee, but it just looks like it. Good morning or good afternoon to Bijal.
Hi.
Hi. You were on camera, now you're off. And we have, I think Eric is here too. Eric, if you can hear me, your camera's not on. And you don't have to turn it on, but I'm showing that you're here, which lets you know that if you want to be on camera, you need to turn that on. If you're not hearing me, then like, what can I tell movie? Hey, Eric.
There we go.
Good
It takes a
to
while
see
to
you,
get
man.
there.
It's been a little while. Very good to see you. Thank you for
Good to see
being
you
here.
guys.
So you missed out. Like we had like scads of people when you weren't around. So I don't know, man. You must be the cause. So suddenly, like I'm not popular. It must be because of you.
It might be.
So again, surprisingly, and I'm gonna use this. It's kind of a lesson for our kind of peace topic today. That sure enough, last night, three of our regulars, Courtney, Chloe, and Barb, said they couldn't make it, and they all send their warmth. And going into the peace topic right from that, as a facilitator and host of these talks, it is natural, kind of automatic, that when this occurs, there'll be a little bit of stress in my mind. Because, of course, my whole thing is going to gather people and produce these things. And so typically, what I have found is when one or two people rescheduled or can't make it, I just cancel. Now, this isn't because it's not worth going on, it's because I see themes. I see themes as a counselor. People are starting to complain about these same issues, sleep problems, anxiety, whatever else it is. It's kind of like an astrological kind of thing that I see trends. And sure enough, typically when I see one or two people, regular participants that kind of cancel, I can't make it, it usually is a kind of a domino effect. The point of this in a peace topic is that it's about expectations. As the Buddha said, we're going to begin with a little bit of Buddha. We're going to probably close a little bit of Buddha too. The Buddha declared that there's only two outcomes of desiring: greed or disappointment. If your desire gets fulfilled, you're going to want more or something different or something better. And if a desire is unfulfilled, we become disappointed. Those are the only two results. This is an axiom. This is an absolute positive truth. And so again, the kind of point of this is that as a host facilitator, that wants these things to succeed and reach people and help them, and of course, it's validating. I mean, when people attend, they enjoy it, then it's validating for me as well. And so again, it's about creating expectations. When I anticipate, which we've had such a good solid group lately, and then suddenly we're just a few of us, which is kind of nice too, has some benefits. It's about expectations. Anytime you're feeling disappointment or disruption in your peace, it's because you had a wrong expectation. Now, right or wrong expectation, true peace is when we have no expectations. We all know this. We all know that we go to a movie or go to something we enjoy more because, you know what, I had no expectations. That's why it's so good, right? Well, we're all familiar with this. The trick in that, of course, is how do we not have expectations of result or outcome? Can't. Our brain automatically manufactures them. It's not always that we naturally expect the best. Sometimes we expect the worst. There's this common perception that people will say, oh, well, don't expect the worst of it, then you're gonna make it happen. I'm like, that's magical. I would have won the lottery a long time ago if I could do that. I can't stand those kind of comments. I'm like, oh, really? So you think I'm like some kind of demigod where I can like create things so that my expectation? Awesome. I'm gonna win the lottery. I'll make everyone at peace. That's gonna be great. And so as I talk about meditation methods in a similar way, trying to not have an expectation is going to make you insane. It's maddening. You can't do it. Your mind automatically, mechanically manufactures expectations on its own automatically. And when we blame ourselves for manufacturing expectations, then it gets worse. Instead of acknowledging and saying, you know, it's a part of my mind, just a mechanical feature that just occurs. So we're creating a distance, a separation between the behavior and our personal interaction with it, our personal relationship with it. A detachment, separation. I'm depersonalizing it. So one of the ways that I establish peace or can experience or sustain peace when my mind automatically manufactures expectations is by acknowledging that it is not me. It's a mechanical principle of the mind. Which expectation certainly has something to do with your sanskars, which I think both of you here are familiar with that, and the people that'll be tuning in and watching this later. Our sanskars are our natural tendencies, our natural kind of MO for the way we think and feel about things, the way we perceive things. I'm not an optimist. I'm not a pessimist. I'm not a realist. That's an over exhausted term now too. Everyone would just grab onto this. Well, I'm a realist. What I am is all of them together. Sometimes I'm positive, sometimes I'm negative, sometimes I'm realistic about it. And I try to sustain and do the work to have the objective perspective of things, not subjective. The way things are rather than the way things I want them to be. And I acknowledge there are times when I just feel negative, where everything I'm seeing, experience, I'm like, well, that's shit, that's garbage, that's crap. And there's other days where I feel really good, and suddenly the same things, like, well, that's okay, that's cool, right? And I clearly see that it's my mood, it's my mode that has a lot to do with it. Again, the same things that are bothering me yesterday aren't bothering me today. I'm not necessarily liking them, but they're not bothering me. I'm not taking them personal. And the same things that I'm enjoying one day, I'm like, yeah, I don't really give a shit about that. I mean, I was watching something on TV the other day, and I'm like, a show that I would kind of normally watch every once in a while that I usually enjoy, and I was like, I really like this. What the hell am I watching? This is stupid. Did I change my perception, or was I in a mood? Doesn't really matter. It's pretty trivial anyway. The point is perspective, which we talked about in our last talk about peace. Perspective is critical to adjust. And then again, not to blame. Again, as we talk about meditation methods, people blame themselves. I suck at this. I'm not doing this right. I'm not getting any results. I'm not good at it. My mind wanders. I'm like, no, you're not doing it wrong. Because we all suspect that we're reading online, we're reading in the world is everyone else is doing it great. It must be a great experience. And yet it's not happening for me, so it must be me. Then I come along and say, no, it ain't just you, it's everyone. And they feel better. They have some peace by recognizing that, oh my God, it's not me, it's the system, it's the process. And everyone's having this. This is again part of the expectation culture. We have wonderful access to people around the world. This is great. We've got Vishal here in the UK, and you're here in Nevada, and I'm here in California, and we are connected. And we're influenced by all this exposure that these expectations are created on nonstop. Media, advertising. I mean, I think we can all agree that advertising is just complete fantasy bullshit. What they're showing, everyone's happy when they got this product. Everyone's adjusted and balanced. Families get along and they love each other. And we don't see any of this in the real world. And so once again, we begin to believe that it must be me. I'm having this unique experience. The whole world is happy and well adjusted and smiling and buying new cars and getting loans and blah, 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 blah. And it must be me. Because I'm not having any of this shit. And again, someone like me comes along and says, you know what? It ain't you. We're all having the same experience. I gave a student an assignment a little while ago. I had her watch a film. a very wonderful, beautiful art film by Kurosawa, who I absolutely adore. And her assignment was to watch the film, and I gave her the channel, the streaming channel to watch it on that has advertising. Okay. And I said, part of the assignment is you must watch, you cannot leave the room, mute, or skip over the advertising. And then afterwards, I asked her, I said, so what was the point of that lesson? Why did I make you do this? She said, oh my God, it was surreal. I mean, it was the contrast. And I said, exactly. She's watching this amazingly deep, beautiful art film. Again, Kurosawa is just a genius. He's so wonderful. And having this interrupted suddenly and being launched into some advertising about laundry detergent. That's definitely trying to promote this concept that if your life sucks, it's because you don't use Gain and room deodorizers, right? And I'm like, room deodorizers? I don't think you need a room deodorizer. If your house smells, you need to clean up. I don't think deodorizers are the thing. And I found that people that are really using a lot of deodorizer in their car and their house, it's not what they need. They need a maid. And so what I'm kind of getting to with these points is that we can't change the chaos, the nonsense in the outer exterior environment. And neither can we blame ourselves for not being able to be at peace and recognize that our shortcomings. I'm defective because I'm not able to just tolerate all this in a state of peace. Because our global culture is projecting this perception on you that if you're not happy and well adjusted, that's your problem. And by the way, you need medication and lots of it. Now I'm feeling some emotions because this makes me very angry. I dedicate so much of my career as a counselor to reducing and eliminating medication from people that have become so much worse in many other ways. We're not going to go into that topic big time here today. So perspective is key when we're talking about peace. And I'll put it to you this way. Get ready for my own little brand of a Zen cone. Zen cones contradict themselves. They seem senseless, and yet there's a wisdom in there. And I don't say mine. I feel that some of these things are kind of channeled. And I'm like, I'm surprised. I'm like, wow, that's pretty brilliant. But that came out of my mouth. And they occur when I'm discussing something with somebody. I'm explaining things I just kind of stumble upon and trying to just explain what my experience is. And here's one that's been persistent for many years. And I just repeated the other day to somebody. I'm at peace with not being at peace. I accept that. I don't feel that anything wrong is wrong with me, nor even the world, because I'm not experiencing peace. I think it's natural. And I have a choice. To be at peace, I'm convinced that I must go live in a cave in isolation. And even then, I won't be at peace because I will want my coffee and I'll need to go to Target and get a coffee maker. And that's going to piss me off. And I'm very ambitious, always have been, very driven. As people know, I can be very intense. And I'm at peace with this because when I try to not be that way, I am not at peace at all. I enjoy being this way. People may look at that and say, why would you want to be like intense and like high strung and like motivated all the time? Because it brings me peace. Doesn't look very peaceful. You mean you go on the tennis court and play aggressive competitive tennis to relax? And I'm like, yeah, it's the antithesis of what I'm doing every day in my life. I'm in counseling session with people solving crisis, and this is stressful in its own way, but it's a completely different brand. So I'm going to break from this completely by immersing myself in a different experience. That takes focus, Zen focus. This is good medication that I recommend to have interests, hobbies, so to speak, passions that require a Zen-like focus, that allow you, that when you're participating in them, that require you to focus on them exclusively. You don't have time. You don't have the room to think about the things you're worried about. One of the things I've taught in the meditation methods is a very common meditation method is to imagine yourself in someplace peaceful. When you're meditating, imagine yourself in a forest or on a beach or something and just enjoying yourself. Or let's say you're walking on the beach. Well, I can multitask. I can take a nice leisurely stroll on the beach and be worried about all the shit in my life. Bills and people, I can walk on the beach and think about all my problems. It's not that hard. Matter of fact, I can't stop it. But if suddenly I see a flock of dolphins swimming by, I'm distracted. I'm like, oh my God, look at that. That's cool. And I've seen this. We have them right off the coast often in California and sometimes some whales too. And I'm launched from my worldly thinking to something that is distracting me that's pleasant and fun. I suddenly just stop thinking about what I was worried about. Something's got my attention. That's an effective tool. This is why I'm suggesting for medication, instead of pills, to use something that is natural and organic, which is to give yourself something to think about. Replace worried thinking, replace non-peaceful thinking. And again, regular peaceful thinking, like having a no mind, which is what we talk about in these meditation methods, where I said that don't try these. It's not for probably it's not the age for these. Instead, to have an active meditation, to interact with, participate with, build a relationship with something that is the antithesis of what causes you unrest. To know thyself. I'm at peace with non-peace because I don't expect to have peace, and I'm totally cool with that. Because the alternative for me is to be at so-called peace would be to be inert. I don't like inertia. I like motion. I like activity. I like action. I like ambition. I find contentment to be a vice. It makes me lazy. I wouldn't really know because I don't have much of it and I've never been lazy. But I suspect, and I've seen that many people that are content and peaceful, it's usually at somebody else's expense. Because they're not having to work or do anything or deal with stress, because the quantity of stress in the world does not go away. It simply shifts from the person that's not taking accountability for it to the people that do. And I think both of you and all three of us can recognize that. I know enough about you, all three of us, to know that this is true. We're all assuming responsibilities and tolerating because there's people that don't have any accountability. Let me tell you this. Another person that I thought was going to be here, she texted me last night, something that I thought was very sweet. And there is someone that is very peaceful and happy. I mean, it's uncanny how peaceful and happy this person is. They don't have a job. They don't have to, they should work. They don't work. They don't have a job. They don't have responsibilities. The responsibility for feeding, housing, clothing, and all these other things falls on family members to take care of that. So the quantity of non-peace is sustained. It just shifts from around. We can have a maddening existence by trying to put out all the fires in our lives. No matter which fire we put out, there's another one already starting to smolder and burn. As soon as I pay a bill, I'm already making another one. As soon as I pay the electric bill, I'm already accumulating. It's already the one's already on its way. So instead of applying all my time and energy to put out these fires, first of all, I try to prevent them from happening in the first place. I keep them minimal. That is the sattvic, minimalist type of lifestyle. To try to do is what we need rather than what we want. Practice makes perfect, takes time. And again, to apply my time to things that are personally fulfilling for me. I'm not saying fun. My things that are fulfilling for me aren't fun. Most of them are very stressful. But I know while I'm doing them, counseling, advising, writing, whatever I'm working on, while I'm doing them, there is a inner core sense of peace, knowing that this is what I want to do. This is what means something to me. It's a labor of love. Still labor, but labor of love. I can recognize I'm saying this sounds like a luxury too. Well, I don't have that opportunity. I mean, I got to work. I got to do the 95. I got to clock in and clock out. I can't do that. So good for you, Krishnan. That's awesome. You spoiled little brat. And I'm not spoiled. I think you guys all know that. What I'm suggesting is that I expect the right expectation. I expect things to go wrong. There was that saying is anticipate, hope for the best, anticipate the worst, right? Is that how it goes? I think that's a creed of life. I don't expect the worst. I anticipate it. I kind of expect it. I am kind of a cynic. Not a what's the opposite of optimist? I can't think of what is it? Well, what was it?
Pessimist.
There?
Pessimist.
Pessimist. Thank you. Just a word blank. Yeah, I'm a cynic for sure, though. I'm not a pessimist. I'm a cynic. But the difference is, as a pessimist, will indeed probably sabotage things to create and fulfill self prophecies of negative things. The cynic, my view is, as a cynic, I can adjust very quickly. When things are good, I'm happy. I'm laughing. I'm smiling. When things are bad, I'm upset. I'm angry. My emotions fit the timing, whatever's happening. I allow myself that latitude. Yes, if I can, I'm going to turn lemons into lemonade. But I'm also going to accept that, you know what, these lemons are bad. They're horrible. They're rotten. They're not good. I can't do shit with these. I'm not going to dwell on it. I'm going to do what I can to either do without the lemonade or go find something else to drink. You know? Again, the automatic response we have to stressful things and the things that disrupt our peace is to solve them. And I'm all for it. I encourage people to take action, be proactive in your solutions and building your existence. And it can happen on its own. No one's going to give it to you. That's for damn sure. So I encourage that. But at the same time, it's the right method. Let me give you a kind of an odd example. I said to Brandon the other day, I said that, well, actually, when I went to see him, and I said that saving money can be very expensive. Sounds like a Yogi Berra quote. Saving money can be very expensive because the amount of time that it takes for somebody to go clip coupons and look for sales, that same amount of time could be applied to making money and not having to deal with that. I like to save money. I like to be very conservative in my expenses. And this kind of conversation came up because my son was saying, what I remember in my 30s is that he's like, I don't have time for that. When it's time to eat, I got to eat. I'm a firefighter. I don't have, when I get a chance to sleep, I better do it. When I get a chance to eat, I better do it. I can't think about where I'm going or what I want. I got to do it. Because next thing, someone's literally going to be on fire and I got to go to work. And that's how I've been through most of my 30s and 40s. I didn't have the time to save money. It cost me more money to save money. It's very expensive. The time away from the things that are productive that can create more latitude and room and space in my life for peaceful existence, to try to conserve and make all these things happen, is disruptive in itself. So again, the theme here is to be at peace with not being at peace. It's accountability. I don't blame myself, nor do I blame much of the world. Well, a little bit of blame the world. That this is my brand of life. I choose to live a life that is self-reliant. I am not comfortable shifting my responsibilities to anyone else, never have been. I'm not saying that's a good thing. It's, people can do what they want with that. I'm not, sounds good on paper. Maybe it is, maybe I don't know. That's not the point. It's selfish. It makes me unhappy. I feel obligated to people if I do that. Even when they say, no, you don't owe me anything, I'll take care of it. For me personally, every ounce of power I give up in my life costs me a pound of stress because I don't feel I can rely on people. I may not be able to fulfill a duty or be the best at it myself, but I know I'm going to try. And at least I have that going in my corner of feeling somewhat at peace with it, rather than the unpredictable. Well, I don't know what this person is going to do. I know what they said they're going to do, but I don't know. I can't count on that. This is where so much of our non-peace comes from, is the expectations and reliance on other things and other people. And we get frustrated and say, you know what? I'm done with this. I'm not gonna believe in anybody. Then we become very cynical and pessimistic, right? Then we become very negative, very judgmental. That's not good either, right? Then we feel bad, then we feel guilty about that. So you see the circle going round, round, round. I can't rely on people, they're shit. Oh, I'm a bad person because I think this about people. Like, oh, it's so wrong with me, I'm so negative. And we give this vicious circle. Going again, again, again. We try the meditations, we try vacations. Talked about that in our last talk on peace. Which, by the way, Eric, if you wanted the first talk I say, the cloud, people seem to enjoy it, so it's there if you want to watch that. And again, as we talked about last week about it, is that trying to take peaceful actions can be very stressful. Find the time to meditate, find space to meditate. By the time you're in the middle of it, you're like, why am I bothering? I'm like, this isn't, I'm way worse than I was 5 minutes ago when I wasn't thinking about this, you know? Seriously. It takes a long time to create an environment in the space externally and internally to be able to. I've always tried to go in with the expectation that I'm not going to get this right the first time. It's going to take time. And the more time and more effort, time and effort is proportionate to the benefit. Food is a classic example of this. Fast food. Very quick, very inexpensive, cheap even. And keep you going, but it's going to have consequences. So it's easy, but it's going to cost you later on down the line. It's going to cost, the quantity of stress is going to be equal at the end. Healthy food. More expensive, harder to prepare, takes more time, makes more focus, but the benefits are there. And again, what we're trying to do is an ounce of prevention versus a pound of cure. This is the methodology and the perspective we want to apply throughout our lives. An ounce of prevention, pound of cure. But again, as we all three know here, you can't prevent a lot of things because things are beyond your control, because we're talking about other people have their own will. Stupid wills. Wills that aren't saying, hey, I bequeath thee. No, it's I'm going to burden you. You can't find peace in many of these dynamics. Don't try. You go for the long game. You start thinking, how can I, when will I be able to establish an environment inside and out where I can have some peace? People work all their lives to get to retirement. By the time we can retire, we're too beat up to enjoy it and to take advantage of it. We're torn to shit by then. That's like, great, I'm retired, I have to work. I can't do anything because I'm all beat up. More of God's lovely irony. So we have to play the long game, because the bottom line is we know this. Even though the retirement concept is kind of a jib, and we know this, what choice do we have? We are going to wind down. We are going to run down. We are going to decay and get older. And so therefore we better try to create the resources to be able to sustain ourselves in some kind of measure that's not surrounded with fear and anxiety and illness. And let's face it, we experience peace very often. And if we look at it and acknowledge it, again, it begins to have a ripple effect. Here's the peace we experience very often. When I say very often, I'm not going to say the majority of the time. I'm going to say it's still small doses. It still does happen frequently. And I promise you this, and you're going to recognize it. Because at least once a day, maybe 3 or 4 even, we do something and we accomplish it. I don't care if it's washing the dishes or doing our job. And we feel a sense of relief. That's done. Check box. Check in the box. It's done. That's one thing I don't have to do now until next time it comes up. But do we acknowledge this beyond just saying, okay, what's next? Indeed, we got to get to what's next. But can we take that moment, simply say, a little pat on the back, good job. This is a responsibility that you have. You do with children, you do with other people. No one does it for you. You want people to. We all should. Give each other a pat on the back. Give ourselves a pat on the back and acknowledge, I did this. It may be silly and trivial, but the dishes are done. That's all that's done, but it's done. Something is done. It is very important, and maybe a little sad, to need to acknowledge the little things, because maybe all you get, and they add up. Because the little things that disturb our peace certainly add up. What we have is an accumulated stress. As I remind some of the younger people that seem to be more peaceful and will comment and criticize someone of my age getting upset over things like tech support, oh my God, and how I'll react to it. When I refer to young people, I'm actually thinking of my brain on my son. He's the one that will comment and you let me know, which I appreciate. And I said, look, your stress, think of it this way, it's an accumulated stress. By the time I'm driving home in commuter traffic, I've already had a stressful day. It's not like I just had this one stressful thing. I've already acquired and accumulated all the stresses. So at 58 in a couple of weeks, I have 58 years of acquired stress accumulated over many, many years. I've got a lot of it. You've got a small reserve. I've got a lot. My threshold for snapping is lower. And that doesn't make me a bad person. Let's see. We'll see how it feels when you get there, because we're all in this boat. So clearly I'm not a freak. It ain't just me. Yeah, I know all you old guys. Yeah, and so are you. And when I was your age, I thought the same thing. I'm not gonna be like that. Ah, the idealism of youth. I not only am at peace with not having peace, I don't want peace. If my life is peaceful, I'm convinced, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm convinced that on my dying day, I'm going to have my life preview, whether I've gone to the other side for it or not. We're all going to have our review of our life as we're in our dying moments. And I am not going to be at peace in my dying moments if I feel like I did not do what I could do with my life. I need that. I know I'm going to need it. So I know I'm going to need to make money and pay bills because bills aren't going to go away. I'm anticipating the future. I'm acknowledging the past, anticipating the future, and applying in the present. I'm a time traveler. I don't have to live in the past. I don't have to dwell in the future. I'm not going to just live in the present moment either. I can do all three at will. It seems rather unorthodox that as I give a class and talk on peace, it's not what people expect. Your average Facebook follower, et cetera, the people, some of these people that will show up, they're expecting something different, something they've heard before. But again, I'm going the other way. There is no peace. And when you accept this, there's a tremendous sense of peace, knowing that you're not doing it wrong. And I certainly recommend and advocate a big sense of humor. That has boundaries. You got to be careful. My humor is very sharp and very quick. And so I automatically have a dialogue going in my head when I'm in the world. And I got to catch myself like, I was sit there and judge and and it's a broken mechanism in me. When I think of something funny, I want to hear it. I want to say it. I want to think it. It's funny. I don't care if it's hurtful to me or anybody else, even to me. If it's funny, I want to hear it. That's my medication. Humor, sarcasm. And of course, the difference is, I think for all of us here, we don't need to be reminders of this because I know what good people both of you are, that we don't act on it. Yes, I got my funny ongoing comments while I'm at the store, whatever else of them I'm doing, but I keep it private. I'm not going to voice it, even though I'm busting the seam because it's funny shit. But I'm not going to cause pain to someone because I need a laugh. Well, every once in a while I slip, but it's sometimes they're just too golden. They're too funny. By having awareness and perspective of our realities, to understand what's that 12-step axiom of the things, the acceptance of the things I cannot change and recognizing and knowing the difference. That's a golden statement, to recognize and know the difference between the things I can change and the things I can't. There are times where I'm having technical glitches, computer, phone, and they happen on one day. It's like they know each other. The phone, the computer, the tablet, they're all doing it at once. The refrigerator, I mean, it's like some kind of strange electrical phenomena. And at first I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I'm like, oh my God. And then it doesn't take too long for I'm like, oh my God, this is hilarious. Like they're all clearly conspiring. Like it's so obvious. I'll tell you one of one of my personal ones. I go out almost every day and I spend about an hour and a half or so on a tennis court with my tennis ball machine. Can't play people anymore because of my injuries. And I don't really want to. It's kind of nice. I don't have to call and schedule anybody or wait for them or anything like that. It's kind of nice. The machine's just a machine. That machine has a mind of its own. This week in particular, it will run completely perfect day in and day out for a week. It'll run pretty well with very few problems at all for a week or two or three. And then all of a sudden it jams, the settings go off, it does all kinds of weird, and it does it again and again and again every day, multiple times a day. This whole week, and for the third day, I'm kind of like, clearly it's got its own mood. It's doing this. I can't change it. I'm not going to try to change it. Next week, maybe it'll be better. And it has its own, again, sun scars. And I'm telling you, it's undeniable. It's not my imagination. It is doing everything wrong just on that entire week. First of all, the thing is a day, then it's like, it's the next day. I'm like, okay, this is its week to do this. Last week didn't do it at all. Last week was really smooth. But this week, it's like everything's wrong. And it seems to be enjoying it. The way it does it, it waits until, I swear to God, this is true. So when it jams, I got to walk from where I'm on the other side of the court and go over to like unjam it, right? And as I walk, I wait a minute, wait for it to go unclog itself, and give it a moment. Eventually, I'm like, okay, it's not doing it. I got to go over there and fix whatever it's clogged with, whatever ball's jammed in it. And as I walk, as I get just 52% from where I was to it, suddenly it gets free and goes. It waits until I walk, or it waits until I get just far enough where I'm more than 51% there. Then it goes. Then I got to go back. And then, I swear to God, this is true. Sometimes when I'm walking over, I'm like, okay, go ahead and fire the ball, because I know you're going to. I know you're going to wait till I get really close to you and fire the ball. It'll be okay again. You're not gonna do it when I'm back there. And then when I go back to where I was to continue to play, it does it again. Like it'll throw one ball to give me encouragement, like it's going to be fine, and then it'll jam again. And I'm like, and I want to have a sense of humor. What I really want to do, honestly, and I must confess, what I really want to do is take a fucking hammer to it. I mean, I really fantasize, like if I didn't pay money for it, if it wasn't $1,000 machine, I would just go kick the shit out of it. I would just love doing that. And I know it's an inanimate object, but my coping mechanism for these kinds of things is to, again, try to find some humor. And again, it's accumulation. This is my antidote. My cardio exercise, my way of getting away from the desk every day, 5 days a week out of 7, to go out and do something that requires complete focus, that's completely different than what I normally am focusing. Again, obviously, clearly it can be stressful to go out there and get this machine out and drive down there and, but it's a different kind of stress. And it's something that I choose to have stress for. Again, I think what I'm trying to point, the points I'm trying to get across, the consistent theme here is that you can't control things. You can't change things. Do your best to do so. Obviously, sure, do some methods to try to give yourself some sadhana practices. But the main rule of thumb, the first line of defense for your peace is to acknowledge that there is none. Hopefully, as I say it, what I've seen in the past, that people get a feeling of peace, thinking, you know what, oh my God, that's good to hear. Like, it's not me, like it's natural, it's normal. I'm not doing anything wrong. Let me go to, I used to read almost in every little class here, we talk from the book, but within the portal. Do that right now. I haven't done it in a while. So here's from Happy Pilgrims. And Jeanette and I are in India, and we are traveling through the Buddha's sites. And she says, So the man who was once a prince, oh no, I say to her, the man who was once a prince came here, Jeanette, because he'd had enough. He had spent several years among the holy ones, the sadhus, in the forest, mastering, surpassing even the teachers. He was capable of fasting for weeks, emaciating himself to skin and bones while staying in samadhi trance, a state of meditative consciousness for days. Biography documentary we saw said he came here to give up, right? Kind of, yes. He left the Sangha out of frustration. His deep trance of samadhi only lasted while he was in meditation. But once his trance would be over, he was still aware of the subjective reality of needs and desires. He concluded those paths and practices could not liberate him from samsara or rebirth permanently. He saw their limitations. Did he come here alone? Was there anyone here back then? He came alone. He left his Sangha brothers and said farewell to them, and they were distraught. I think a few asked to go with him, but he refused them. The guru of the Sangha gave him blessings, telling young Gautam that there was nothing more he would gain from the paths he had mastered. He sat beneath it and refused to move. But how did he not starve? He sat there for 49 days and nights. A yogi of his skill and able to extract prawn, his life energy, right from the atmosphere. He just absorbed the life energy with his will? Exactly. And he was hit with storms and demons trying to keep him from enlightenment. Didn't you say in that workshop that you gave on him that this is like the Jesus in the wilderness? Yes, and Jesus' time in the wilderness was approximately 40 days too, and was a catalyst to begin his mission. Saint Mohammed, peace be upon him, who could spend months in long meditation prayers in the cave before he became illuminated too. Our Maharaji too spent time in seclusion before giving satsang to the people. There's got to be a connection between the time of enlightenment and reincarnation then, right? Yep. The Vedas teach it takes 49 days to reincarnate in our sages, and avatars replicate this to keep a theme that reveals to us that spiritual illumination is not easy and will take you to death's door. Repeat that. The Vedas teach it takes 49 days to reincarnate, and our sages and avatars replicate this to keep a theme that reveals to us that spiritual illumination is not easy and will take you to death's door. Metaphorically, die and spend the 40 days or so in seclusion before emerging reborn to begin our mission on the earth. She chuckled. No pain, no gain, right? Enlightenment isn't for pussies. Isn't that what you say? I do. But if the Buddha was not spiritual, why was he attacked by like demon spirits and trying to keep him mortal? Yeah, Buddhism is actually agnostic, just indifferent to God, not really taking a side or getting involved with that angle. That's one of the first contradictions that got my attention. Yeah, it's more philosophy. Yet there are tons of spiritual references through the story too. Remember, the Buddhists see him as a mortal man who became enlightened. Santin Dharmas see him as an avatar. That makes more sense to me. That he was dispatched to earth to provide a path to enlightenment when the anti-God sentiment of monism was the only thing many would accept at the time. Buddhists fully acknowledge spiritual forces like those who interfered and those that assisted, like the Serpent King, but it teaches that even these attachments must ultimately be done away with. It's not a process of God realization, it's a system for self-realization. Remember that God realization is oneness with God, self-realization is oneness with you. So in this way, he's a guru. But I like it when avatars act like people. It makes us feel like if they can do it, I can do it. That's what I want, just peace, oneness with everything. Correct, Jeanette. Keep in mind the Eightfold Path puts an end to suffering, solving the First Noble Truth, but it also puts an end to joy and happiness. And again, I think that's worth repeating. Keep in mind the Eightfold Path puts an end to suffering, solving the First Noble Truth, but it also puts an end to joy and happiness. Once you return to the source, your mind is done. D-O-N-E, done. No suffering, no bliss either. Yeah, but no more reincarnating. Total Om Shanti, she says, laughing. The mantra of Om Shanti is for perfect peace, yes, but our Maharaji describes it like a divine coma. You're done reincarnating or suffering, so suffering is over, but you have no awareness of this. Om Shanti, yes, but you remain ignorant to it. Personally, I want eternal bliss, not just peace. I've been through too much shit during eternal existence. I want the brass ring. I want Maharaji forever. My point of that and sharing that in this topic of peace, that chapter, Happy Pilgrims, what I'm trying to do is not offer any type of judgment. I admire and adore and accept the Eightfold Path and the Ashtanga Yoga of the 8 branches of yoga that are pretty much identical to each other. To attain samadhi, liberation, where your mind is terminated at death and your soul merges within the eternal Atman soul. But again, the Vedas themselves, there's no contradiction here. The Buddha wasn't misleading anyone. He's teaching you the path of liberation, as does Ashtanga Yoga. That's what they were there to do. Shankaracharya taught Ashtanga Yoga, Patanjali did, and the Buddha's teaching Samadhi. They don't bring up this other counterpoint of the Vedas. What they're saying is absolutely true. With this path, you will attain eternal, total peace. You'll have no desires because you won't feel anything, because your mind will be terminated. All of the things you experience, all peace, everything you feel is through the mind, which is part of the material world, material phenomena, not the divine. So the whole Om Shanti, peace, path of spirituality, if we can call it spirituality, because it's not really spirit, is to terminate the mind, have no awareness. Mindfulness is mindlessness, no mind. And as I said in that conclusion there, I've been through too much shit in eternal existence to not want more than just peace. I don't want to be in a divine coma. I've been in a coma before. It's not too interesting. As much as I was aware within the portal during my coma, simultaneously, I had no awareness whatsoever. I was dormant. Materially, my mind was completely dormant. Within the portal, I was aware. But make no mistake that even though as I'm describing these dialogues and things going on within the book, those are true. But I can't describe the reality of it is that I simultaneously didn't exist. I was aware and yet not aware. Only in the divine realm, only in the true spirit realm can paradoxes, total opposites exist simultaneously. Material realm, they can't. Night and day can't exist together. And so I did the best I could to describe a little bit about the paradox of this existence. There I am within the portal. And as I said, in total peace, I had no desires. And as one of my first editors had said to me, yeah, but then you say that you don't want to go back. Like you're at peace. So you do have a desire. You don't want to stay. And I had to acknowledge it. I'm like, you're kind of right. Like, I guess I just contradict myself. And I also say in that same line, I have one desire to please her, the divine love, whatever she wants. Suffer, exalt, whatever she wants, I want to please her. So I do have a desire. Again, it can't be described in any kind of material terms that can make sense in material consciousness. It was a paradoxical experience of existing and having awareness, having no awareness of existing at all. In the worldly sense, my mind was completely dormant. I had no true thoughts, and yet I was also aware. And again, as I described these interactions with Akashic agents taking place as a dialogue, I also say in the beginning, these weren't actual dialogues. It's just a telepathic communication that was just there. I wasn't, as I gave my live preview, as I described it as a cinema display before me. It wasn't quite like that. It was just instant download. I had all of it right there. Not quite omniscience. To contradict even that term, it was more like a partial omniscience, which doesn't make any sense. I can tell you that from personal experience, that on one level, absolutely, I would choose samadhi, liberation of mind and termination of mind over material existence and awareness. It's peaceful. And yet again, you are aware. You are one with awareness. And that's all you are, just aware. It's just awareness. And it may sound like kind of negative, but again, impossible to describe. that it is perfect, perfect, just perfect. And we automatically, as humans, stupid humans, we automatically assign something that's perfect to be good. I don't want peace at the expense of bliss. I'm greedy. I'm selfish. I want bliss. I want happiness. And I think this is true for human nature. I think that within a short dialogue, if somebody is in peace and I say to you, hey, would you like any kind of desire they might have to make it better? They're going to say yes. Can your peace be better? Well, then you ain't at peace. You have a desire. I think that is the nature of human existence and human mind and human spirit, is that we want happiness, we want bliss. What are we trying to do every day? We're trying to attain happiness. We're settling for peace. When we have people like, you know what, this is cool, like leave me alone, everybody's just back off, leave me alone. I'm good. I don't need to stay away. And when it comes across our mind in those moments, we're thinking like, well, I guess it could be better, but I'm not willing to disrupt my peace to get what's better. I'm not taking that risk. I'm not rolling those dice. Yes, I want a candy bar, but I know if I got to put on my shoes, go to the store and all, oh no, I can do without. It is not human nature to be able to remove your desires. Desires are natural. The function of this is divine. I've often asked, or say I was recently asked, so what's the point? If there is an ultimate goal or purpose to our existence, which is to become enlightened, illuminated, peaceful, God realized, whatever, it's whatever. Why is all this happening? Why is there an existence at all? Why don't we just skip all this? And I said, it's an eternal condition. Always has been, always will be. Because it cannot not be. And that's the profound and silly answer to the purpose of existence itself, because it cannot not be. The Bible and other scriptures describe a moment of awareness of desiring, where they leave where they're now expelled from the garden because they ate the apple, which represents desire, become aware of desire. So just being content and at peace with what they've got. But again, we go to Samson Dharma and look at what exists before and underneath all of that. The human condition. We don't choose to desire. It's automatic. Better roll with it instead of rolling against it. I'd like to, what was it? Oh, cool. She actually. So let me ask you this. So Chloe sent a question. How does one cultivate peace when coping with grief or witnessing impending death and loss of loved ones? Wow, that's pretty deep. Good old Chloe, always being cheerful, right? How does one cultivate peace when coping with grief of witnessing impending death and loss of loved ones? Wow. Anybody want to take a stab at that? Anyone want to try to answer that? What would you advise?
Not sure. Give a hug.
Do either one or both of you also have curiosity about that concept? How do we have some time measure of peace watching suffering and anticipating it, especially when somebody we love? Isn't this one of the most common disruptions of peace? The first one is disruption of our peace. Somebody's knocking on the door, whatever's going on, and so, and again, it's the accountability. I mean, as someone who has a career over 20 years of assisting others, certainly, again, I was asked, so how do you deal with this? How do you deal with the suffering and the pain and the anguish that you see in people all the time, nonstop? And my initial answer was some separation, detachment, objectivity. I mean, I don't take it personally. I stay within my lane, within my role. But the truth is, it affects me greatly. As much as I joke and hate humanity, as well as people, that is medication for me. Because if I don't look at it with some scorn and contempt, I'm overwhelmed. As I'm thinking about it, I'm overwhelmed. I feel sorry for them. I feel bad. I don't want anybody to suffer. And it pisses me off because they suffer needlessly, most of them. Ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance is just ignorance. Certainly, the Buddha, the avatars, and me in my own little tiny way, I can't experience true peace, partly because I'm surrounded with a world that's not at peace at all. And I can feel it in the collective consciousness. The difference, big difference between me and the avatars is that they are one with God. And so they can simultaneously, again, experience both the empathy and worry and concern and fear for people and love them and maintain and sustain and be in bliss, because that's what God is. I don't have that feature. I'm still just dumb human. It becomes this ongoing, again, paradox. Indeed, it does affect me. I don't want it to, but I do care a lot. And I don't want to see people in pain. And that's why I'm so driven with what I do. I'm a workaholic because it caused me such tremendous unrest to know that someone within my circumference that reaches out to me for help is suffering. When I have a solution, I can't be at peace or rest knowing that I need to communicate it to them. I need to try to offer it to them. But I've also got to be able to have the on-off switch. I've got to be able to clock out. I've got to be able to close the door of my office. And again, a transition. When I wrap up my day, the last thing I do, two things are the last things I do. First of all, in the afternoon, I go play some tennis on the court. It's not peaceful and fun, smiley. Sometimes it is. It's usually like, son of a bitch, goddamn. There's a lot of swearing on the court. That gives me a break. It's maintaining my personal space. Real or illusion doesn't matter. It's all an illusion. So to have my own comfort zones, my own happy places, they say. And again, also have the perspective to know that every soul is on their journey and we're all the different varying stages of it. And that wherever anyone else is, I was there once too, and I can end up there again. I'm not immune to that, whether it's one time or another. It's been going on for an eternity. The eternal condition. And so we see it keeps coming back in a loop. Things we can do and perspective and tolerance and acceptance. And there's that word acceptance. Again, there's the stigma that acceptance seems to imply that when you accept something, you're okay with it, you're happy. No, 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 no. I've worked with a lot of parents, not a lot. I've worked with a handful of parents throughout my career that lost children. There is no greater pain. None. I can't imagine, but I never have to. My son has a very dangerous career, so it crossed my mind. I never try to help these people get past the loss. To Chloe's question about loss and death, I try to help them just to coexist with it. You will never be the same again. You will always, forever feel lost. That's not going to change. Acceptance of death does not make it go away. It means you coexist. It's here and you're here. You're together. And yet, you don't have to be one. You can coexist. As I often point out through my story, I use that part where I say endure. The best you can do is endure. Cannot change it, but you can endure. Why? How? What choice do you have? You're gonna, whether you're gonna be locked up in a hospital or be playing tennis on a tennis court with your machine, you're still gonna be breathing in and out, and so your choice is which way you're gonna deal with it. You have no choice but to endure. Which way you're gonna endure, you have some choice in, some free will. As far as what you're gonna endure, a lot of you don't have too much of a choice in. So one of the perspectives when we're talking about death, as Chloe's presenting here, which is most severe, and again, we all accept that people are going to die. Our parents, all those things that happen, we can move on from that pretty well because we expect it. But again, a child, something that's sudden, there is no peace in this. The peace, accepting there is no peace. And again, I've seen two parents, one of them having the acceptance and the other one not being able to have it. Both of them in the same room and watching their different reactions. Watching it tear their marriage apart too, because the one that's found acceptance, the one that doesn't find acceptance is angry at the one that's finding acceptance because they're like, you don't even care. And what I see in this again is that they never stop caring. Their pain has taken a depth and a resonance that, as lack of a better term, we call acceptance, simply because it is a full awareness. I cannot change this. It's a natural part of existence. Nothing I can do is ever going to change it. And I will forever be in this feeling of loss. That's what the acceptance is. I will forever feel this loss. Nothing can change that. It's always going to be intense and painful. This is when we get this level of acceptance. This is when we seem disconnected, be at peace with something, because it becomes internalized and private. And honestly, the parents that find this level of acceptance of the death of a child, when they attain this level of acceptance, what happens is a never-ending connection and relationship with the person they lost. They're not lost anymore. Just as giving birth cannot be imagined by anybody that hasn't done it, neither can the loss of a child. So we can only present this in theories and what I've seen and witnessed. Now, this is probably the worst and the core. I mean, we can't think of it. I honestly can't think that there's anything worse that we can go through as a human being than the loss of a child. But if we apply some of this methodology, some of this understanding perspectives to this such something so severe, then we should be able to transfer that and apply to things that are less severe. A common theme with people interacting within the portal, the book, is that there's a very steady theme of, oh my God, I thought I had it rough. Holy shit, what this guy's going through. And again, the benefit there is that indeed, as I one of the quotes from quote my own book, the perspective is to realize that it could be worse. And I say my quote is actually, it really sucks when the best thing you can say about your life is that it could be worse. Have we not all thought? I just put it in words. It really sucks when the best thing you can say about your life is that it could be worse. And for someone somewhere, it is. I don't feel better by that. I feel in many ways worse. That not only can I not change it, and that it could be worse. Of course, when it's really bad, you're afraid it's going to get worse. And it often does. When you think it can't get any worse, suddenly, magically, it's like, oh my God, how's that even fucking possible that it can get worse? And it did. I'm watching it. And I don't feel better knowing that it could be worse, and for someone somewhere else it is. Because then I'm like, okay, so that's all I see is suffering. And again, in my line of work, that's predominantly what I'm exposed to. And so again, as I share this excerpt from Happy Pilgrims, and what I'm slipping into this story is what I feel is a very deep wisdom and truth. I'm making this in a conversational, hopefully entertaining kind of way, in an exotic land. It's not so hit you in the face with it, but I'm trying to put the emphasis on an eternal, final, ending solution to not reincarnate, to get out. The purpose of our existence is to grab that brass ring. And we can do it. The avatars have all come and shown us how. And that is the point of so-called spiritual awakening. The best and worst day of your life, when you realize it's a possibility and you'll never be happy until it obtains. What choice do we have? Suffer and suffering. Buddhist Four Noble Truths. That's all they talk about. Again, let me pause for a moment, see if there's any questions or comments, any anecdotes anybody want to share about anything about peace or non-peace. Okay. There's some guilt that I have as I describe it this way, because again, I know that people would want to come to something like this and find some antidote, some answer, like, oh, cool, there's a way to attain peace. And yet I'm describing that in one way there isn't one, and I'm describing that ultimately there is. And this is what, again, when I was St. John of the Cross, the ascent of Mount Carmel in Dark Night of the Soul is the anthology, the analogy of the human endeavor to attain spiritual illumination. Willing to, as I include that quote in the beginning of my book, this is not for a gentle perspective of peace. If you want that, go somewhere else. This is going to get rough. If you want peace, go to Starbucks and go to your yoga class. It's not going to happen here. It takes work. I want ultimate peace. And again, if I'm going to have food in the house, and the bills paid, and the lights on, and access to a computer, and do things I want to have, then I'm going to have to work for it. I'm going to have to experience unpeace, non-peace, to attain any measure of peace. The beer tastes better after a hard day's work. That's a fact. So I accept this as part of the process to the point where I feel my acceptance level has reached a point where I cannot feel at peace unless I have worked my ass off for it. Something's missing. If I'm got nothing going on, like again, as I've talked about, like I make sure I take Sundays off. I force myself because it is healthy for me to recharge and to step away from my work because it makes me want it even more when I get back to it. Because I'm restless. I don't know what to do with the day off. It's pointless. And so again, an example of finding peace in not being at peace. I kind of enjoy it. What I'm enjoying mostly during those times is the fact that I don't love doing it, but it's good for me. It's the right thing to do. There's a lot of anxiety that comes with spiritual attainment. And again, as I often quote, in the beginning, you do your sadhana, in the end, sadhana is all you do. Doing your sadhana takes dedication, commitment, effort, work, stress, lack of peace. And in the end, sadhana is all you do. I'm not saying that it means I exist in a state of peace. I'm saying that on some level, there's a couple of brain cells that are always doing sadhana. I view and see and experience everything through the filter of my spirituality. Can't help it. Can't stop. Been doing it too long. Becomes a new normal. And the greatest solace that we can have as stupid humans is to remind ourselves that there is an end to the game. There is possibility. It can happen. It does happen. And while I am nowhere near maybe accomplishing it, am I going towards it or away? Again, in my last moments of a lifetime. There is no way that I can, nor do I want to feel I'm all done, I'm good, I'm accomplished, I have nothing left to do, I'm so completely at peace. Neither do I want to feel, oh my God, I did nothing. I want to know, and I'll find my peace of knowing that while I didn't accomplish it, I was working my ass off towards it. I was not being lazy. I will find peace in that. I do have peace in that. Again, the paradox, the contradiction, being at peace with no peace. Let's go ahead and wrap that up. Any questions or comments?
Yeah. Cool talk though.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
I'll wrap up on that final note is just that, is that we all suspect that our mind has a competency and a capability of attaining something that is beyond all of these things. This is also innate. Again, desire is innate. Desiring is innate. You can't stop it. But what you desire is up to you. Desire the world, desire the divine. That we have a choice in. Our mind is made of material phenomena, so therefore it's going to automatically desire the world. That's what it does. That's its nature. Don't blame it. Don't hate it. Just acknowledge it. But the mind also can be, through our spirit and our soul and our will, redirected to the divine. As a pathological drug addict, they say there's no cure for addiction, and I can attest to that. But I can choose what to be addicted to. As an addictive personality, I cannot stop being an addict. I'm obsessed with something. What I'm going to be obsessed with can be up to me. I choose to satisfy my addictive nature. It needs something to be addicted to. So, okay, fine. but not drugs. Man, that's not cool. Like, that doesn't work. That always isn't bad. We've learned that the hard way. How about, since you need to be addicted to something, how about we be addicted to knowledge, spirit, trying to be a better person, trying to maintain health and wellness? How about that? If I'm going to be addicted to something, I can't stop it. That's my pathology. To be in pursuit of the final answers to these things. Okay? All right, we are topicless for our next meeting. Chloe and Barb will be back. We have two more people that were supposed to be here this morning that I kind of figured they wouldn't get up in time. The hour of this is 7:30 is probably because, well, we have Bajal in the UK and we've got people on the East Coast that, it's kind of late for them. And so I never can settle on the exact perfect time for this. So it's a little bit early for me too, a little bit, but it's okay. So, and again, topics and timing, I'm always open to suggestions, okay? Well, finish that final salutation. Jai Shri Radhe, glory to the essence of divine love. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Great talk.
All right.
Well, kind of nice to meet you, so to speak.
Nice to meet you too.
All right. All right. We'll get together again soon.
Bye, guys.
Okay.
Bye.
All right. Bye.